ThekarmicDF.
What is up, guys? It's your girl, the Karmic DF, back to you again with part 2 of how to forgive and how to move forward with your life, reaching a point of indifference, reaching a point of not letting the past traumas define you, and freeing yourself from all those painful emotional experiences that hold you back in life, that hold you back from, you know, putting yourself out there in relationships, putting yourself out there to trust people, trust others. So if that's something that you really want to work on, if that's something that you want to get through, I'm going to try to remember to link part 1 below, but if not, it'll be the video before this. And yeah, as always, please like this video. It does help so much. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, let's get into it. So like part 1, like I was saying, even the hardest of situations, you can find a place of indifference or forgiveness depending on where you want to reach. I know that I picked a really dark story to pick, but I was just doing that so that I could show you that even the hardest circumstances where it's like, I don't know if I could ever forgive that one story. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to forgive who they are, what they've done, that you'll allow them back into your life. Maybe you will, but not entirely. Maybe you have to develop really strong boundaries with that person moving forward. But you know, if it's someone that refuses to acknowledge your reality and refuses to admit that they've hurt you, you might want to, you know, that's your call to make. Not my monkey, not my circus. So, but anyway, getting back to indifference and realizing that you can get to a place where these moments in your life don't become part of your overwhelming story. Similar to relationships, for instance. I was engaged at one point in a relationship that was on and off for about 4 or 5 years. And at the end of that relationship, I found out that he had cheated on me with 5 of my friends. 5 of my friends. And you could argue that that is unforgivable, right? Unforgivable. How dare you? Really messed up. But I've moved on. I've healed. And again, when it comes to this place of forgiveness and indifference, now I'm going to bring relationships. So it's a little less intense so that you can kind of like understand. We got to look at why people behave the way they do, because that is the key that unlocks this all. It's understanding that it's not about us, because when people get cheated on, their first go-to is like, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, I'm not that, and that's why I've been cheated on. And then you keep going and you repeat these cycles where you get into these relationships, which oh my God, I did this until about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I was still trying to prove myself, where it was constantly like, I'm gonna prove to the next guy that I'm worthy of love. And it was never that. It was just that I kept attracting emotionally unavailable partners and then thinking something was wrong with me. And so we have this disconnect, because no one ever teaches us this, that everything everybody else does it's mostly nothing to do with us. More often than not, it's nothing to do with us. Like, there's obviously 2 when it comes to a relationship, and I should have known to end that relationship sooner than later because I was not happy, but I didn't listen to that because I didn't love myself. And because I didn't love myself, I made excuses for things that didn't make me happy. And I stayed in the relationship because I didn't want anyone else to have him if he were to change and get better, which is such a toxic way to look at things, because you're not going to change your spouse. I'm telling you this right now. People change because they want to, or more often than not, because something traumatic happens, or, you know, it's either like a death where it's like, wow, life's too short, and it opens your eyes, or you lose a partner that you really wish you hadn't lost and you messed up, and you're like, wow, now I really need to look at myself. It's when things go bad, it's when we most often realize that we need to change and evolve and adapt. So instead of continuing this cycle of not looking into why people behave the way they do and making it an internal thing and going, what's wrong with me? And then feeling like you need to overprove yourself and overgive. And then you get angry because that person is still not reciprocating because they are not capable. They are not at the emotional intelligence that you are at. You are more likely the giver if you're watching my videos. Or maybe you are someone who's hyper independent, but you want to reopen your heart. And so you're afraid because you know what people are capable of, But we have to let go of the past, because the past is going to keep rearing its ugly head in other relationships and other aspects until you do that internal work, look inside and go, what is this teaching me about myself? That's how we get to forgiveness. That's how we get to indifference. It's not, oh, that person cheated on me. I never got closure. They never apologized. They never felt bad. I just got to a place of, yeah, of course that was going to happen. That person, we'll call him Bob. Bob he had parents that were horrible to him, and he had a really sad childhood. And I'm not saying that what he did was right. I'm saying that when people don't heal, they act out. When people don't heal, they're more likely to project and to attack and to hurt others, because it's easier to be angry and not look internally, because then we have to go through the crying, the bargaining, the stages of grief, and that's really hard, and it's scary for some people, and they don't want to go there, and they think that they can just kind of brush off. Yeah, I'm hearing brush your shoulders off. That's so funny. They think that they could just brush it off, and then they're stuck, right? They're stuck in the past. I mean, think about how many, I don't know, 40 to 60-year-olds you see that are still stuck in the past. And I mean, like, they're angry about stuff from like 20 years ago. Can you imagine being that angry? Like, if you're in that age category, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but I'm saying, like, if your story that's in your head is still a story from years ago, then at what point are you going to admit that you're at fault? And I know that that's hard, and I know, but if you watched my first video, I could easily be like, people are the worst. They're horrible. Look at that story I just told you. That's unthinkable. I can't imagine hurting someone like that and then never apologizing, never feeling bad for what I've done. But at the end of the day, I'd be the one still hurting. They're never going to hurt. They're never going to feel the pain that you feel. They're never going to care the way that you care. So the only person still kind of stabbing you in the heart is you. And that's the point of getting to forgiveness. Or, you know, if I had to say, like I said in the last video, I would say we should aim more towards indifference until maybe getting to a place of forgiveness. I do forgive the ex that cheated. I'm not angry about it anymore. In fact, I believe now he actually has come a real long way, got a great job, has his own home, and I'm really happy for him. I kind of think he might still be cheating though. But because it's that lack of self-esteem, that lack of self-love, that lack of finding yourself. And again, it's realizing why people behave the way they do, to understand that it's not always about us. I mean, if you did some damage and that's part of why people behave the way they did, then obviously acknowledge your part, because that's the only way to really grow, is to understand that, like, hey, I played a part in this. Like, you could argue with the one that cheated on me. Like, all right, he could argue that, well, you know, I wasn't the nicest. I wasn't the nicest. He was always wanting my time, and it was a lot for me. I didn't really like that. I don't really like being clung to, and honestly, it's hard for me to make excuses here, if I'm being real. I'm trying to, like, find something where I can, like, some things are just, this is why forgiveness is a really hard topic. This is why when we watch spiritual videos and they're like, you gotta forgive people so that you can be set free, and then we all, like, roll our eyes because we're like, y'all haven't been through what I've been through. And, like, I get that. I get it. I'm sure that there are stories I probably will never tell, if I'm being honest. But we got to get to a place where we can understand why they behave the way they do, so that we can understand that it's not personal, so that we can remove ourselves from the equation of that story. When we can reach a place where we're like, yeah, what happened really was messed up. I'm not going to gaslight my experience. I'm going to go through the stages of grief, cry it out, have the how dare yous, and get it all out of my system, because you can't really skip that part. You do need to cry it out of your system, and you do need to be angry if those were the feelings that you were experiencing, but you bottled them down. You got to let that come up. So you might cry for a little bit, and you might be angry for a little bit, and don't gaslight yourself in those moments. I definitely am one of those people where I'm like, why am I still angry about this? But it's like, it's because it needs to come out. It's got to come out. And during those moments when we were in that trauma state, we were more likely in a freeze or fight or flight type of response, instead of being able to, pull ourselves aside immediately and go, all right, let me understand why I'm feeling how I feel. We can't do that in a moment of crisis, right? And so we have to cry it out when we feel the need to cry, get angry when we feel the need to get angry. I'm not saying get angry at them. I'm saying let it out, maybe in a journal, do what you got to do. But eventually you need to get to a place of, I'm going to say indifference moving forward. Indifference is the best way to go, because it's kind of hard to forgive some things. I understand that. There are things that are, we see it in the news all the time of people being harmed, and some things, are just, but anyway, the point is, when you get to this place of, but why did they behave the way they do? Why did they treat me the way that they did? And start to dig into who they are as a person and understand how they became to be the way that they are. That's when we kind of like break the code, and that's when we can stop taking it so personally, and that's when we can remove it from the story of our life. So instead of me being the girl that I used to be, which was like, men are trash, they're not, just saying, so YouTube doesn't kill me. But, having that attitude of all men are awful and all men are this and blah, 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 blah. What it really was I had no boundaries. I had no self-esteem. I expected men to save me. I expected men to complete me. Oh, that's so toxic. Looking back at it, I expected, and rom-coms and movies and all that kind of help contribute to that, but that's a whole other topic. But you have to get to this place where you understand your contribution in it, how you got yourself in that place, even if you weren't the one doing the damage, because I didn't ask to be cheated on, right? Like, it's not my fault. He could have just easily been like, I'm not happy, and leave, but he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Some people are like that. But if I want to sit here and attract a man that respects me, loves me, isn't going to cheat on me, prioritizes me, puts me first, doesn't have his phone dead every night, you know what I'm saying? That type of stuff that I used to deal with. Then half of the work, most of the work, is on me. It's on me reflecting how I could attract those types of people in the first place. And that's where you get into shadow work and inner child healing. You have to look at bigger picture. You have to pull yourself out of your emotions. And this is actually when I am pro logic. You have to remove yourself and be like, what if this was not my story? What if this was my friend's story? Well, even then you're biased, so I wouldn't even go there. What if I was watching it on TV, right? Like, it's a fictional story and that's going on. What can I learn from this? And then you go, okay, all right, well, that person cheated because they went through this, that, and the third. Okay, that makes sense. That's why they behave the way they do. That is not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of their wounds, their traumas, their triggers. Now I've disconnected myself. Do you see? It has nothing to do with me. I've taken my power back. Now I don't need an apology. Now I don't need answers as to why they did what they did, because it was never about me. It was always going to happen because I was a magnet for someone like that, because I didn't love myself. I knew love as being something that was traumatic. I knew love as being something that was toxic. I knew love as kind of like, for my tarot readers, I'm seeing the Six of Pentacles in my head, where it was like almost like a contract. Like, I'm obligated to do this and you're obligated to do that. But that's not how love works, right? Love is unconditional. It's free flowing. But because of the society that we live in, we think that love requires you to be a certain type of way and give a certain type amount of your energy and overdo it. And especially, like I've said in prior videos, with social media, you can reach anybody at the second that you want to, and it's not healthy. And so we've kind of lost sight of why we've gotten to this place as a collective. And it's a lot to do with us not acknowledging our parts in how we got into these situations to begin with. If you attract somebody who's really toxic and abusive, then ask yourself, all right, well, that's not a reflection of me, because I don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. But why did I allow it? What is that telling me about myself? Why did I allow, like in the previous video, how did I not see that someone slamming a door in my face when I was in the darkest part of my life? Why did I allow that? Why did I find that to be acceptable? And instead of being like, wow, you're a really bad person, And I need to figure out how to emotionally disconnect from this, because this is not a reflection of myself. I didn't have those tools back then. And so I decided to, and this was all relationships. This is the pattern. This is what I'm trying to get you to see, is that I was chasing love. I didn't think that I was worthy of love, and I had so much love to give, so I overgave love. And so I attracted people that saw that in me, that were devoid of love, and so they sucked it out of me. And that's where you implement boundaries. That's when you implement your worth. If you don't love yourself, people that also don't love themselves are going to be attracted to you, especially if you don't have boundaries, and they're going to suck it from you because you don't have that respect for yourself. You don't have that self-esteem in yourself to say, hey, I deserve better than this. So when we see the dynamics of relationships playing out, we can understand that it's not personal and it doesn't have to define us. So that is how we get to a place of forgiveness, but I would say aim for indifference, and then if you can get to forgiveness, that's wonderful. Like, I would say in the more traumatic scenarios, get to a place of forgiveness and caring from afar. For instance, you know, the person that cheated on me, I don't really talk to at all anymore, but you know, when I hear about him through the grapevine and it's something good, I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he's moving forward in his life and that he's in a better place, because regardless of him cheating or not, I'm not attached to that story anymore. And so I want him to be better. I want him to be better for himself, and I want him to be better for the women that he's going to date after, so that they don't have to go through what I went through. It's not about internalizing all of the pain and making that our story. It's about diving into the pain that's us and looking at it with honesty and saying, all right, what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? And I'm telling you, every story, no matter how bad, can tell you about yourself and can also tell you about how you got into it. It could tell you about how that person is the way they are. And then you remove the emotional aspect to it. So like I said with the cheating one, it's not about, oh, that means that I'm worthless and that I don't deserve love and I'm only going to attract cheaters. That's not what it means at all. It means that two people who were not emotionally available came together to learn and trigger each other and then inevitably split. That is how these karmic cycles work. That is why my name is literally the Karmic DF, because of how many karmic cycles I've been through. I know because I've lived it. And there are things that can be seen as unforgivable, and sure, you can do that. But if it's living rent-free in your head and if it's holding you back from living your best life, then you have to go, well, if I'm in pain already, then I might as well dive into the darkness. I'm hearing into the thick of it. But diving into the darkness and going, what is this teaching me? What didn't I see that I can see now, so that moving forward, I don't attract it again? And in attracting, you know, partners that are emotionally unavailable, what is that telling me about myself? If you are attracting emotionally unavailable partners, I hate to break it to you, you are likely emotionally unavailable yourself. That's something that was really hard for me to see, because I didn't know that. And so because I was the giver, I was like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm emotionally available. But I was emotionally available to an extent. I was willing to open up to an extent. But I didn't trust, because I had been bruised from so many prior relationships. So to an extent, I was emotionally unavailable, and that's what made me an anxiously attached type of person. That's where we get into psychology more so, where the emotionally avoidant dates the anxious attachment, because it's teaching you why you're off balance, right? The emotionally avoidant is someone that's been scarred so much from love, and so they've shut themselves off, versus someone that's been so scarred from love that they've decided that they need to prove themselves. And that is where this dynamic plays out all the time. I've seen it play out in my romantic relationships, in family relationships, and in friendships. It will play out in all of your relationships until you see how you are contributing to attracting these types. And it starts with and ends with you. What do you accept? What do you allow in your own life? What does that inner critic say in your mind? How do you treat yourself? How do you talk to yourself? If you don't love yourself at all, you're going to attract people that are going to mirror that until you go, enough is enough, and then you pour into yourself, And then all of a sudden you start to love yourself, right? And then you're going to start to attract people that are willing to pour back into you, because everyone is a reflection of what it is that you're showing yourself. It's not, people are not out here showing you your worth and all that. People are out here showing you what it is that you need to work on and what it is that still needs to be healed. I didn't stop attracting emotionally unavailable men until I decided enough is enough. I'm going to pour into me. And when I started pouring into me, the types of people that I attracted became less and less toxic the more and more work that I poured into myself. And as I continue to go and realize that, hey, I need to love myself and show myself what love looks like so that someone else can do it the right way, and so that I know what I'm looking for. Do you even know what you're looking for? Because if you're cruel to yourself, then you're more likely to accept that from other people. You may hate it, of course, but that's how you get stuck in these 5-year-long relationships, because you have that voice inside of your own head that's saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not worthy of the best, I'm not worthy of this, that, and the third. And so you're going to attract somebody that's going to mirror exactly what it is that you tell yourself. So that's why forgiveness is so hard. That's why being indifferent to these things is so hard, is because you don't understand that it's all a reflection teaching you about yourself. It is all a reflection of a lesson that you can learn in order to heal and fix yourself. You are not going to heal other people, and people are not going to heal you. The only person that can do it is you. And when you do this little life hack where you go, how have I gotten into this place? How do I keep attracting people like this? And then you learn about yourself and you realize that, oh, wow, I'm really mean to myself. So of course I'm going to attract people that are mean to me, because that's what I do to myself. Or, oh, I gaslight my own emotions, and so I attract people that are gaslighting my emotions. It's literally a reflection of you. And when you can start to see that and go, enough is enough, I want to be able to have healthy relationships, I want to get to a place of peace and forgiveness, then it starts with loving yourself, pouring into yourself. What does love look like? Do you even know? Of course you don't. You're attracting people that are showing you how you love yourself right now in this present moment. And if you love yourself out loud and fully, you're not attracting these toxic relationships. You're not attracting toxic friendships that are built on jealousy and one-upping one another, because that's not who you are anymore. So how do you show up in your own life? And then notice how that is impacting the world around you. If you're mean to yourself, is everybody else mean to you? Probably, right? Probably. If you love yourself so loud that it could shake buildings, notice how people start to love you in the same way. The moment that I started to pour into myself is the moment that I started to repel people that couldn't handle people that love themselves. And I started to attract great friends and unfortunately not... With love, it's complicated because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But you will notice that as you love yourself more, you will attract people that will love you the way that you love yourself. And in order to get those people, it goes back to forgiveness. And what's easier? Indifference, which is realizing, again, why people behave the way they do, including, and most importantly, yourself. That is the key to all of this. Once you understand yourself, what you settle for in your life, you'll understand why you attract the things, the people, the situations that you do. It's all connected. And when you realize that, you will free yourself from all of these limiting beliefs, from all of these past stories that you claim to be as your story today when it doesn't need to be, because you're still holding on to it. You've made that your story. Let it go. Realize what it has taught you. Thank it with peace and love. Goodbye, I don't need you no more. And then you show yourself what love looks like. You show yourself what commitment looks like. You show yourself what self-care looks like. If you're the type of person that's like, I don't deserve 20 minutes to relax, I don't deserve to be treated fairly, I don't deserve, well then yeah, you're going to constantly attract people that'll mirror that back to you until you get to a place where you're like, I've had it. I have freaking had it. And I met someone one day, that was a situationship that really made me just go, wow, I am part of the problem. I am the reason I keep attracting these guys that don't respect me, that don't want to tell me that they love and care about me. I'm the reason, because I am searching and chasing for love outside of myself instead of showing me what that looks like so that it can be brought to me the most natural and simplest way. So I hope that helped. That was a deep dive if I've ever talked about one. If you need a part 3 for any reason, let me know down in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Then maybe I'll make a video out of that. But as always, if this was helpful in any way, please leave a like. It really does help support my channel. I so appreciate you guys. And I will see you in my next video. Oh, please subscribe, hit that notification bell for future videos. I will see you guys next week. I love you so much. Believe in yourself. You could totally do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, babies.